sorted. Just close your settings. Yeah, you're right. E nā mana, e nā rau rangatira rā. E nā karangatanga maha, tēnā koutou. I raro i te ringaringa kaha o Aitua, he iwi ko tahi tātou. We meet on holy ground, for that place is holy where we meet one another, where lives touch, where love moves, where hope stirs. There is holy ground. How strong our need is for one another as we share life and death together. My warm greetings to you all on this very important day, He Rā Rangatira. A time to treasure, a time to share your memories, and together weep. He roi mata aroha I maringi nei, tears of love. As a philosopher some 3,000 years ago put it, for everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. And now, I'd say, this is our time to remember. Nau mai haere mai ki te wharekarakia o Manako. Welcome all to Cornerstone. I'm Robin McPhail, minister with the church who make this beautiful building our home. We are a union of Methodist and Presbyterian, and it is our kaupapa always to seek ways to unify. Opportunities for whakawhanaungatanga, and together become, as a community here, more understanding and respectful as the diverse peoples of this region. I gather from hearing of Hazel that Toi Terito Maihi's vision and the design she gave us for our window, weaving many and varied strands and allowing some at the edges to remain loose, I gather that's very much in tune with this lovely woman we honour today. Just a moment of housekeeping. You would notice you came in, doors, that's one exit, the others are on the opposite side, and in case of emergency, the gathering point, muster point is the big pole, the light pole in the car park. Toilets are down the passage towards the kitchen. Electronic devices, please feel free to discreetly check if they're silenced. Don't be embarrassed to do that because it's better than them going off. But during this time celebrating Hazel's life, selected people, as you'll see listed on the sheet, and one more, will bring, or two more, will bring tributes. And this is as a way of gathering the diversity of her life and of triggering thoughts in all of you. Things that you can share over a cuppa today and into the future. For this is just the beginning of your remembering. And don't stop. Particularly don't stop talking of Hazel with John. And with all of you, nearest and dearest, keep her in your thoughts and your talk. It's just a few people speaking, and it's sort of apologies for that. Sorry, no open floor. But we did think, well, there's a risk we'd still be here tomorrow if it were. The thing for today is that life is a gift for which we're grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the wonder and mystery of that great gift. Me enoi tātou, let's pray. He honore, he kororia ki te atua, he maungarongo ki te whenua, he whakaro pai ki na tangata katoa. In the midst of life, we encounter death. Taken to the edge like this, taken beyond our everyday resources and beyond human comprehension, we reach out for courage and for hope. Spirit of life, we want to open ourselves to your perspective, your grace and light. But our feelings blur our vision, so we offer them to you now. All those things we've felt since hearing of Hazel's death. The numbness, it still doesn't seem real. Deep sadness at losing a friend. And pain as our hearts ask why. Why is life like this? At times like these, we're vulnerable and fragile. We're aware of the joys and the possibilities of human life, and we feel the pain of loss because we love. Creator of life, touch us again with life's beauty and mystery. Just as the sun climbs in the sky, as the mists lift over the valleys and the rain washes the dry soil, and the pukeko and seagull call, let our spirits gather comfort and strength. This is our hope. This is our prayer. So be it. Amen. We have a collection of readings. Readings, an opportunity to ponder things that we will connect with, and I'm sure things you'll connect your memories of Hazel with. So we've got the order there. We've got Jenny, then Joanna and Leslie. So if they'd like to come and turn now.
Hello, kia ora, I'm Jenny. I've been a friend and neighbour of John and Hazel for about 14 years now. Hazel and I shared a love of books and words, and that's something that I'm sure a lot of you can relate to with a bit of reading together, and we both love the power and the visual imagery that well-crafted words can bring. We'd been reading a book about the lives of an expatriate couple in remote rural Spain and how they merged into the foreign landscape and culture. And through the writing, we were able to imagine the torrents crashing through the bouldered rivered gullies and smelt the thyme and the rosemary on the evening air. We could hear the bongle of the lead goat's bell from far down the valley, and as they came closer, the sounds of the shepherds cussing overlaid the farting of the goats, and Hazel would chuckle. The words created a tangible, dusty and beautiful, a real place for us to visit in our minds. Those words took us to another place. We also spoke about the cadence of children's books and how enjoyable they can be when read aloud, the words bouncing along in a dance all of their own rhythm. Hazel, we didn't get as far as reading any of those books that we still had ahead of us, but I'm sure that she would appreciate these words from No Matter What by Debbie Gliori. Does love wear out, said Small. Does it break or bend? Can you fix it, stick it? Does it mend? Oh help, said Large, I'm not that clever. I just know I'll love you forever. Small said, but what about when you're dead and gone? Would you love me then? Would love go on? Large held Small snug as they looked out at the night, at the moon in the dark and the stars shining bright. Small, look at the stars, how they shine and glow. Yet some of those stars died a long time ago. Still they shine in the evening skies. Love, like starlight, never dies. Fly high, sweet girl. Thank you.
I've got a couple of poems that I'm going to read. The first one is Remember Me by Margaret Mead. To the living, I am gone. To the sorrowful, I will never return. But to the happy, I am at peace. And to the faithful, I never left. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. So, as you stand upon a shore, gazing at a beautiful sea, remember me. As you look in awe at a mighty forest and its grand majesty, remember me. As you look upon a flower and admire its simplicity, remember me. Remember me in your heart, your thoughts, your memories of the times we loved, the times we cried, the times we fought, the times we laughed. For if you always think of me, I will never be gone. And another one by Mary Elizabeth Fry. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.
We've heard some readings just now from Jenny and Joanna, but I just wanted to bring to everybody more about Hazel and John living in our community in Kerikeri here. So I just wanted to explain how what a great group of people we have around us. When we first met Hazel and John, it wasn't actually us that met him. A tent appeared on a bare block of land just along from us, our new neighbours. We didn't meet John and Hazel first. Our cat Peanut, a chocolate Burmese, did. He used to sit on the periphery of their campfire at night. Then one night, he startled them both by trying to climb into their sleeping bags in the tent, as you do if you're a friendly neighbour. There began a long-term friendship. Just a quick funny memory. John very seriously one day said, "Hazel tried to kill me today." She grinned. Hazel had persuaded John to cycle into the Saturday market midsummer, 32 degrees at least that day, approximately 28 degrees each way. Hazel giggled as John relayed his sad tale, and Hazel pipped up and said, "John got off his bike on the first hill on Pururu Road and moaned and groaned all the way up." Frankly, I did have some sympathy for him, but Hazel thought it was a great laugh. There are a group of us on the Rangahua Road that enjoy a very special relationship and friendship that has lasted for many years. We have had fantastic times with great laughter over some fabulous food and a few bottles where some tall stories may have been told. The socialising and friendship that extends to Christmas Eves at our place, barbecues at Robert, Jenny's and Sophie's, along with Fred the goat roasting itself on the chimney, alive. Also Hazel and John's with their warmth and company, the ambience of their lovely home. Hazel once gave me a gift with a little card in it that I still keep on my bedside table. I always think of her when I read it, which is most days. It says, "Shine. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within." This is Hazel.
Yes, the light. That's what I've heard about, is the light. and we endeavoured to find something that we could sing together. We could have voice together. And on the back of your sheet, there's a song, Let There Be Love Shared Among Us. Yeah, the source of if you're a singer, to tune into the music and enjoy singing. If you're not a singer, give it a go anyway. This is a safe place for, we make a joyful noise in here. We don't talk about good performance or anything like that. And it's our chance to be a voice together. And you know, John, you may find it hard to sing, but I think the rest of us can sing for you. And that's the sense that we can surround him and surround all these good people. Let there be love shared among us. We'll hear a wee bit of the tune. I'm pretty sure we're going to sing it twice. We may be right by then, but you may be loving it so much that you just carry on again. Let's stand up. Expand those lungs, as they say. Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love in our eyes. Now may your love sweep this nation. Cause us, O Lord, to arise. Give us a fresh understanding of community love that is real. Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love. Ano. Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love in our eyes. Now may your love sweep this nation. Cause us, O Lord, to arise. Give us a fresh understanding of community love that is real. Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love. Enoho. Well done. So the eulogy, the sharing of the life, different aspects of life, telling her story. So John, you will have the first voice and I'll move the box out of the way. We'll only put it there if somebody shorty like me turns up. There you are.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, katoa. Kia ora, and thank you everybody for coming. You will hear just 2 pages from me and 2 pages from a good friend of ours who I'll be speaking for as well. So it won't take too long, if I can hold it together. So here are a few words that people have used to describe Hazel in the many, many messages of love and support that I have received in the past days. Wonderful, super smart, generous, kind, caring, giving, brave, inspiring, amazing, wise, loving, considered, strong, talented. Hazel was all of these and so much more. But words alone are not enough to describe her. She was the magic between the words that lifted them off the page and turned them into something brilliant, something that could change the world in countless small but significant ways. In this way, she touched so many people's lives, and that contact always seemed to create light and energy. She helped so many to create the space that was needed for change, and then helped them find the energy and confidence and courage that they needed to move into that space. She would do this gently and with care and with consideration, helping people to move forward in their own way. And she has done so much in her life, so much that I still hear stories of something wonderful that she did that I had absolutely no idea of from her childhood and even from recent years. She was truly remarkable. So she was my partner in life, my companion of over 30 years, and my only true love. She's the person that I've walked beside through many, many adventures and challenges, physical, mental, spiritual. She was the person I watched leave on her own adventures, and the person that I have left behind as I set off on my own. And we changed so much over the years, growing together at times and apart at times as well, but always coming back together, somehow stronger and more committed. Always ready and willing to support each other with whatever the next chapter of our lives presented or may hold for us. I have one here, it's all right. There's a supply in my pocket.
It's a mobile, it's got wheels on it.
So through those years, Hazel's influence on me was the same as it was for anybody else. She helped me be the best that I could be. She picked me up when I was down. She inspired me. She challenged me. She supported me. She loved me. I hope I was able to do the same for her, if only a small amount that she did for me. The last 3 years presented Hazel with her and our greatest challenge. From the very beginning, Hazel decided to live with cancer rather than die of cancer. And so she did. She lived with cancer with more energy and vitality than most of us lived our conventionally healthy lives. Most people wouldn't even have known that she was unwell. And not because she hid it or denied its existence or pretended not to be ill, but because she simply lived with it as best she could. 4 months ago, she was riding horses in the hills and jumping in the paddocks. 3 months ago, she was still schooling horses and walking in the hills around Queenstown. 2 months ago, she was walking around the paddocks. And only 6 weeks ago did she really, really feel the toll on her strength and on her life. Over this time, we grew even closer, communicating and connecting in new and wonderful ways. It was a privilege to be part of this journey. To share this time with Hazel and to help her as best I could along the way. And when the time came, to be there for her at the end, as I had promised to be many years ago. Her death is not defeat. Cancer did not win. Hazel lived her life to the full, learning as she went and always giving back more than she ever took. Of course, I wish there was more time, and I am certainly angry that there is not. But this cannot be changed, and wishing for it only makes me sadder. Hazel knew this intuitively from the very start. Sure, she had her dark times, but she didn't stay there, wasting energy and time. She simply got on with living. So today is about celebrating Hazel's life, how she lived it and how she used it to help others, how she lives on in all of us through those small changes that she inspired us all to make. She was wonderful, loving, caring, strong, inspirational, all of those words that I listed before, and many, many more. Much more besides all of that as well. I miss her dearly, and will miss her for a very, very long time. But I am so glad to have known her. and so deeply grateful that she chose me. As her companion in life. So this is from Linda Madsen, who is a very, very good friend of ours. Is a very, very good friend of ours, who we met in Dubai many years ago. So now I speak her words. I first met Hazel at the end of the 1990s when she came to work at Dubai Men's College. And I remember clearly that she was introduced in the staff room as an iron woman and a marathon runner. She was very striking with her trademark massive auburn corkscrew curls and her lithe, long-legged, athletic figure, reminding me of Bambi, a nickname that stuck, at least for us anyway. I was drawn to her almost immediately, even, or maybe simply because, we were opposites in so many ways. She athletic and techie and artistic, me none of these things, though we did share a love of good wine, chocolates and literature. Hazel's energy was phenomenal. I used to feel like a feeble candle in the company of a comet. If you stood by her workstation, you could practically feel the sparks coming off her as she pounded away on her keyboard, producing yet another conference paper or improvement proposal for our Foundation's computers program. Just before she left Dubai Men's College, I made a sound recording of her typing. It's just like a machine gun fire. I wonder how many keyboards she wore out in her time. In our leisure time, the four of us had some memorable meals at each other's houses when we'd imbibe generous quantities of good wine. Then there were the New Year's Eve meals, followed by drunken renditions of Auld Lang Syne by our swimming pool. When she and John left to go back to New Zealand, I felt bereft. I know I wasn't the only one. We met up again in 2015, when my husband Peter and I went to stay with her and John in their idyllic house in Kerikeri. I believe we were the first to try out their adjoining guest quarters. Hazel's energy and drive were undiminished, now challenged into her ethos consultancy, while she also continued her athletic and horsey pursuits. Life was on the up and up, and no two people were more deserving of the fruits of their success than Hazel and John. We were so happy for them, basking for a couple of days in the glow of their friendship and the hospitality in those gorgeous surroundings. But to slightly misquote an observation attributed to John Lennon, cancer is what happens when you are making other plans. Ever determined to stay positive, Hazel fought it every inch of the way, but for once found herself confronted with something that proved stronger and even more formidable than her willpower. I last saw her in Zurich in November 2018, after she just completed 2 weeks of cleansing treatments at a clinic in the Swiss Alps, aimed at doing some of the damage that chemo had done. I was expecting to find her pale and exhausted, but instead she looked healthier than ever, leaving me trailing in her wake as she power walked around the city in search of a vegetarian restaurant. She seemed all set to defy the odds, but it was not to be. I know that memories of the good times we share will eventually weave an insulating cocoon around the rawness of my grief. On May the 28th, knowing she didn't have long, she wrote to Peter and me, asking us to remember her as the exuberant lover of life that she was. This memory of her exuberance and positivity will eventually triumph, and death shall have no dominion. Thank you.
So Nigel and Joanna come together.
23 years ago, I answered the phone and heard a timid and tiny voice which said, "You don't know me, but..." I went to meet the owner of the voice, Hazel, along with John, in a backpackers in central Auckland. My first impression of Hazel was of ridiculous hair, even more ridiculous legs, and a grin that went with them. John and Hazel became firm friends, of course, and we shared many things together, all new migrants at similar times in our life. We had many things in common: a love of the outdoors, a love of culture, and together we developed a love of New Zealand. For a long time, Hazel and I became default training partners. Default because John had injured his knees while watching Hazel run a marathon. We ran many kilometres together over the years, take up cycling. But oh, those ridiculous legs again. It wasn't just that she waited for me at the top of the hills, it was the way she parked her bike and actually slept on the grass while she waited. She tried to persuade me to go riding on a horse, but I'd gotten a bit smarter by then. I learned through the kilometres and years that underneath that timid and sometimes introverted exterior, there was a strength of character and purpose that was not to be trifled with. When provoked enough, there was another Hazel under there that could. The first inkling of this was on a visit to John and Hazel's new flat to find several new holes in the plasterboard. When I asked Jono about these, he told me the holes were where Hazel had missed. I didn't ask what happened where they hit. Much of her strength and determination was a consequence of a less than ideal childhood, of which, unlike many people, Hazel showed little on the surface. And despite a harsh upbringing and a dearth of positive role models, Hazel did not, like so many, simply pass this on or inflict her pain on others. Over the years, through the normal challenges of life, career stumbles, relationship issues, and Jono's knees, we grew closer. What migrants do not have in a new country is family. John and Hazel became family, and Hazel was very much a part of my daughter's upbringing, to who she became a valued mentor, an employer, and a role model. I grew over time to understand Hazel a little more, and I watched her growing confidence and become more assertive as she found her career niche. Certainly on John and Hazel's return from the Gulf, she was noticeably more self-assured, and this new confidence led Hazel to form Ethos Consultancy and make many valued new friends and colleagues, and also contributed to the planning and building of their lovely new house here in Kerikeri. Hazel made the house her own and hand-planted and watered many thousands of trees. In many ways, the Pururua house is typical of Hazel, in that she came here, made everybody her friend, and made the place better. I've listened to many people talk, and only talk, of leaving the world better than they found it. Hazel made up for many of those people. On the day that Hazel passed, I was sitting on her deck, considering what Hazel had achieved, and the quantity and quality of the people she called friends. Since I received that first phone call, and I thought, not bad for a skinny, timid girl with a tiny, trembling voice on the phone.
Acquaintances are easy to come by. Good friends are not. My definition of a good friend is one whom I might not see, speak to, or correspond with for months or years. But when seeing them again, it's like the intervening time drops away and the connection is still there. With such a friend, there's of course always the quiet confidence that should the need arise, one can pick up the phone and the friend will be there in whatever way one may need. Such a friend was Hazel. We connected easily when we met. Who wouldn't, with a bouncy, effervescent, super enthusiastic, highly intelligent and interesting young woman that she was then. With all of us being recent immigrants to New Zealand, Nigel, John, Hazel and I had lots in common, and our friendship deepened with time. The friendship was nourished by fun adventures, braving seasickness several times to come sailing with us, and Nigel, who braved sitting on a stroppy horse, but only once. It was nourished by opinionated conversations over good wine and great food, by mutual love of performing arts and exploring the countryside together, and by soothing shoulder massages, Hazel's vicious thumbs would invariably find all the nasty knots. So when Hazel suddenly left for the Middle East, with John soon to follow, they were sorely missed. It was therefore with some relief that on our stopover in Dubai a couple of years after their departure, I sat in their kitchen and chatted with Hazel as though time had stood still. We simply, smoothly picked up again just where we had left off. Similarly, her increasingly lengthy stays up here in Pururua did not interfere with our connection. If anything, her illness brought us closer together. I have been very blessed over the last quarter of a century to have enjoyed Hazel's friendship, her sharp sense of humour, the ever-open ear to empathise when the going got tough, or even merely annoying, her boundless enthusiasm and readiness to celebrate small victories, her love and support of Nigel and myself, and the him in greeting, partly from exuberance, but partly, of course, to wind him up. These are a small sample of what I'm going to miss. Hazel has touched many lives in a myriad of ways. I shall always be grateful that mine is one of those that she touched.
Gayleen. You want the box? I have it on authority. Some of us are meant to be short.
I know. Wow, now I know what it feels like to be John's height. My name is Gayleen. I work alongside John and his directors and his team. And last year, John said to me, I really want to introduce you to my wife. So he arranged a meeting, we did it electronically, and Hazel and I became friends. So Hazel is a coach, and so am I, and I had a group of coaches that I met with regularly to support each other. So I said to Hazel, come and join our group, and could you please introduce yourself to us? So she sent me a bio, I would call it, well that's what she called it, but to me it's a story of her life. And so I asked John if I could share that with you today, because to me it's an insight into how Hazel saw herself and saw her life. And it's probably a thing that most people won't know how she saw it exactly. So this is written by Hazel, word for word. Who am I? This is a good question, and one that I had been mulling over a lot over the last few months, especially as I am facing a health challenge at the moment. In February this year, I was diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer. One thing I figured out as part of the healing journey is that I am not defined by the condition, nor am I the condition. Prior to February, if asked who I was, I would have responded that I was a successful business person, someone who enjoyed thinking, writing, and research. However, I knew I wasn't the most open of people, that I was very independent, and especially in the coaching and mentoring, while I was keen to support other people to be the best they could be, support me. In fact, I have to confess, cringe time, I didn't even think I really needed my own coach because, well, I had life figured out pretty well on my own, thank you very much. One of the first things I learned in mid-February and post the bombshell is that there were a lot of people, friends, family and acquaintances who were there with love, prayers and help. I just had to open my heart and let them in. I learned that love is limitless and flows wherever there is space, something I embraced. Also, offers of help were many and genuine. To accept help and to let go of control was a challenge, but once I did, it was liberating. I also found myself a coach who has been incredible, gosh, she knows how to ask the hard questions, and I love it. Being guided to look deep into myself and my motivations has been a mixture of incredibly painful and amazing. The experience means that I feel way more authentic when I am now working with my own coachees and mentees. Now I build a partnership from the heart rather than the head. Plus, it has opened up opportunities to work with people in a life and wellness coaching capacity. Earlier in my life, I loved painting, especially watercolours, singing, tramping, climbing, horse riding, multi-week cycle touring and gardening, amongst other things. Over the year, this had morphed into competitive triathlons and marathons and a lot of tree planting on our lifestyle block in the far north. However, the amount of time and energy I was devoting to work meant I didn't have time to do so many of the creative things I loved doing, but instead, I put everything on hold. John, my husband, also got the tired, stressed version of me. Each year, the time I took off work grew less and less, and as a result, I steadily felt tireder. The February shake-up resulted in a radical rethink of life. So, for example, as soon as I started to feel well enough, I started gentle yoga and short walks. Gradually, I got back to painting and drawing, and since the surgical procedure that means I am pretty much pain-free, I am going riding this coming Thursday. Plus, I'm getting back on my bike and back into my kayak and in the next few days. The joy of now balancing work, spending meaningful time with John, and creative or outdoor activities has given me a new lease of enjoyment in life. So, back to the question. Who am I? It's a work in progress, but this is where I have got to. I am someone who is living a life of joy, health, and happiness, where I aim to be a force for healing love in each and every interaction with people, including with myself and animals. I live a life of service to others as well as to others, and to larger purposes. I believe that I am able to support positive change through collaboration, learning, and creativity so that there is ultimately freedom, love, and equality for all, including this planet. Who Am I? By Hazel Owen. Where did she go? Oh, there she is.
Thank you. That's wonderful, Galen.
That was wonderful, Hazel.
Hazel, yeah. Friendship brought it to us. Wendy. Is that Wendy next? Yes, we're still thinking Wendy in between.
Not on the list, but in addition. I think I'll just.
A little list.
That's fine. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Kia ora, everyone. So I'm standing here to read the words of a very dear friend of mine and also a very dear friend of Hazel's, Jan Bambury. Some of you know her. And Jan's currently in France, and although she's not here in body, I know she's definitely here with us in spirit. And it's live streaming. I guess she's probably there already. Yeah, great. So whilst I'm here to do that on behalf of Jan, also I want to acknowledge myself, the connection, the friend connection I had with Hazel, and the aroha I do have for her as well. I just was thinking, as people were speaking, energetic, warm, kind-hearted friends are just simply the best. And in Hazel, we've all had the best of the best, really. Okay, so Jan's words, and for those that know, this is the horsey part of Hazel's life. These two women were they're the horsey gals, I always think of them. So it's entitled For Hazel. My friendship with my wild-haired friend developed around many sessions at the photocopier at our mutual place of work. We would spend those precious preparation moments sharing our mutual addiction to horses and riding. It was after some months had passed that I actually organised for Hazel to ride my scrupulous mare Freya. And it took only a few minutes into that for me to realise that Hazel was a real horse woman. Since that first ride, over the years, Hazel has ridden all of my horses, and it is from that a steady and wonderful friendship grew. This extraordinarily fit woman would cycle from her home right across the city to mine out west, whereupon we'd drive, out further west, having wonderful discussions en route. We'd saddle up 2 of my horses. For years we had many adventures at horse riding and endurance events around the North Island. Hazel would bring her tiny tent, and then she'd ride off in the early hours of the morning, completing an 18-kilometre ride. I can still see her now, this firm and determined rider, taking my rather reluctant mare bucking and spinning in protest. However, she was absolutely no match for this wiry woman on her back, and they'd always finished the ride in a fabulous time. I was forever amazed at the sheer strength and determination of my friend Hazel Babes. While sensitive and so empathetic with friends, colleagues and clients, she had such a firm, steely resolve with this particularly difficult horse. They used to have monumental discussions, with Hazel hell-bent on having always the last say. My next horse suited her much better, as she knew only one speed, and that was extremely fast, which terrified me but suited Hazel's style much better. The 2 rocketed through several rides together, both of them extremely happy and coming in well ahead of other riders. Towards the end of last year, I broke my arm, so I asked Hazel if she would like to have fun with my horse Cochise, particularly teaching him how to jump. I knew the benefits to both Hazel and Cochise would be absolutely significant. She took on the challenge in her usual enthusiastic manner and had Cochise jumping his socks off. There are wonderful photos taken of the 2 of them. We've seen a few of them come up here. Just soaring in absolute perfect harmony. Over those weeks, we had great fun communicating about his progress. When I collected Cochise 3 weeks before Hazel passed away, I was so fortunate to have the chance to tell her how much I loved her and how much she taught me over the years. Our very last conversation was fittingly her giving me advice on my last steps with Cochise. Her influence was not restricted to our equine interest, but her extremely gutsy and positive attitude to life. I would leave her after a riding or a coffee session, vowing to implement some of that into my own life. I miss her terribly, but am so very grateful that she's been in my life. Yeah. For Hazel. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Now, Helen was coming from over there.
Kia ora koutou katoa, e hoa mā, e nā hoi whā. Ka nui ngā mihi kia koutou, e hanore kia hou, ki te mihi atu I tēnei wā. Ko Helen Cooper toko ingoa, he ka mahi o hou ki Core Education tātai ahoro, nō reira ane, e nā iwi, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Greetings to you all. This is not a place I wanted to be, and I find myself really shaking. But I'm Helen Cooper, and I'm here as a friend and as a colleague on behalf of our ko whānau. Thank you, John, for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for your wonderful words. I must say, your length of relationship with Hazel was the same length of mine with Tim, and she was obviously much easier to live with because he looks a lot older than you now, so I'm not going to tell him that though. Our love and thoughts have been with you every step of the way. I will never forget the night, in the middle of the night, when I had texted her earlier to say, how did you get on with your results? And the text didn't come through till about 2 a.m, and we had a text conversation through the night. And probably one of the hardest things I did the next day was to tell colleagues of the news. I first met Hazel more than 10 years ago when I worked for the Ministry of Education. Hazel was exploring all sorts of opportunities to leverage technology for the good of others and for the good of teachers. A colleague, Eddie Reich, told me about this super clever, amazing woman and how much I would just love her. I love her ideas, her vision and her energy. And it didn't take long to work out why he was singing her praises. She's been involved in an amazing array of initiatives over the years, but she led the first pilot of the Virtual Professional Learning and Development Program. It was a cost-effective professional learning model empowering teachers to connect beyond their school with other like-minded educators. The VPLD provided access to research, new ideas, strategies and coaching, guiding teachers to undertake their own inquiries into practice. It was a great success, and when it went out to tender, Core Education became the contractor for it, and Hazel became the project leader through Core as an independent contractor. She had her own company, Ethos Consulting, but she quickly became one of the core whānau. So ever since, we have been close friends and colleagues. And I'll come back to her mahi in a minute, but firstly I just wanted to acknowledge this is the first time I've ever spoken in a situation like this. I've farewelled my parents, and it's a terrible thing to farewell your parents, but it's a tragedy to farewell a friend. My parents always considered that you did well if you got in your three score and 10. And sadly, Hazel has been seriously shortchanged. Her passing has left us with a jumble of things to confront. I think that perhaps there are 3 things that we are hardwired to do as humans. We seek answers. We have an innate belief in a fairness. I'm not sure why, but we do. And we don't believe that anybody can actually be perfect. Since Hazel was diagnosed, it seemed that everybody expressed the same question: why? She treated her body like a temple, and we've seen that. She led an amazingly healthy lifestyle. She radiated health, life and vitality. She cared deeply for the earth and all creatures within it, loving flora, fauna and humanity. She had boundless energy, and she always gave more than she took. There are no reasons or answers why, but duration is not the measure of a good life. And in Hazel's 2 score plus 10 and a little bit more, she did more, saw more, ran more, gave more, loved more, and celebrated life more than most people do in their extended lives. I hope she felt fulfilled. I believe she did. She achieved so much. As to fairness, I think we can all agree life's not fair. But life isn't about fairness, and Hazel knew that. She searched for solutions, not for answers. She searched for a way of being, and she achieved it. Through her illness, she modelled bravery and courage like no other. Her determination to fight, to know, to understand, to find answers to her own questions, even though I just said she didn't look for answers, to give herself the very best chance to survive. She used all her intellect, skills, connections, research to find ways forward. She did it with acceptance, a serenity, with great humanity. She didn't dwell on what was unfair. She didn't wear her anger on her sleeve. Instead, she increased her capacity to love, respect, her capacity for friendship and for gratitude. And as for whether someone can be perfect, I know that Hazel wasn't. But blimey, she came incredibly close. She was perfect as a friend, I think. As a colleague, however, she had an Achilles heel. It was milestone reports for the Ministry of Education. She hated them with a passion. She hated the need to conform to a template and to write in a succinct and passive style. It was not her skill set. She would rage, I would listen, and then I would edit out great chunks and hope that she wouldn't be too cross with me. Sorry, Hazel, you just didn't possess that standardised mindset, but you possess so much more. And we all loved you for it. Fulfillment for you came in rich stories of change. And I'm sorry that about the pain of the milestones, but I love that we could laugh about it. When we could see that Hazel was needing some new challenges, we explored options at CORE and developing a coaching and mentoring program for CORE. You choose. In the education sector, you would think that teachers, educators would know naturally and understand the benefits of coaching and mentoring, but it's a sector where people like to talk, believe that they are reflective, and so they don't always see the monetary value in actually paying for someone to listen to you. It's not the easiest of markets. But as anybody who has known or been coached by Hazel would know, that the difference of being mentored by somebody with her exceptional skill set, the value is just incredible. The difference it made in people's lives. The learning that she gifted to others. To hold a mirror up to your fellow humans sounds so simple, but its impact can be profound and the complex layers are immense. Hazel, the main success of You Choose was that Hazel ended up as the coach and mentor for more than 45 staff at CORE, and each and every staff member knew the value of that privilege. Her input to CORE goes beyond measure. She's gently guided and supported, she's listened, cared, helped carry loads. She's enabled people to unburden themselves, to pick themselves up. She's empowered them to take action and to make good decisions. Her mentoring has inspired so many to be the best that they can be, to learn and draw on their own resources to find solutions and to grow from experience. We will always remember Hazel at CORE retreats, her sense of fun, dressing up on Project Runway, her radiant smiles as she connected with all across the company, her curling, shining hair, her sparkling eyes and broad grin, her joy on the dance floor. We will remember her facilitating, leading us all at Hui, challenging us to think more deeply about our practice. Though she was not an employee of CORE, as such, she embodied all our values, whanaungatanga, kaitiakitanga, wairuatanga, manaakitanga. She embraced our vision and our mission. During her illness, when she wasn't actively working, Hazel kept in touch with so many by email, Skype, phone, letter and text. So many have shared their joy of receiving a message from her. Her messages spoke of love, gratitude and appreciation for all. Always giving, always appreciative. Each text or response a koha to others. As a friend, I have loved all our conversations, sharing ideas, planning and dreaming, discovering, finding, understanding and exploring things from new perspectives, testing our thinking. I also loved Hazel, the artist. Drawn to nature, like me, she loved to draw and paint. She celebrated line, tone, light, texture, colour and detail in the world around her. She loved the movement of dance. She loved beauty and appreciated all from the smallest detail to the most expensive view. We shared a passion for animals, her horses, her cats, for me dogs, and we took solace from their company, their simple playful ways and devotion. We will remember Hazel always for her love of life, her fabulous laughter, her incredible wisdom and gentle ways. We will remember her as a horse rider, cyclist, runner, gardener, environmentalist. We will remember her as a visionary, a teacher, a leader, an inspiring coach, a researcher, a blogger, a collaborator. We will remember her as a reader, a devourer of knowledge, and a learner. We will remember her aura as she called the karanga, and we will remember her as an artist, her araha for all, her for beauty and nature. We will also remember her stunning dresses, her joy, her warmth, and her friendship. And while we acknowledge all Hazel gave us, we must also acknowledge and celebrate that she was also a private person. John, you were her haven, her rock, her fellow traveller. Thank you for sharing her with us. John, Josie, Steve, Joanne, been with you. But thank you for all you did for her, especially over the last months. Our love and thoughts will be with you as you work through the days ahead, the weeks, the months, as you come to terms with your loss, and you learn to enjoy, laugh, and celebrate the memories of Hazel without pain. I love to you all. Ka nui ngā mihi aroha, kia koutou.
I'll bring my own tissue. Thanks, Helen, and thank you to all of the other speakers for really inspirational words about someone that we all loved, respected, and for Hazel, she was my mentor, she was my coach, she was an inspiration, and she was also my friend. I met Hazel that was through the VPLD. She was coaching one of my staff, and I thought, this is for me. So for the last 10 years or so, every month for an hour, we've sat down and we've talked. And those talks that I've had with Hazel have made me grow in ways that I could never imagine myself growing, or doing things that I'd never imagined myself doing. And